Hello guys, my name is Vijay Kumar Vaga. I am working as Senior Solution Consultant in Epicero. Today in this session, let us discuss about validation module in Mule 4. Um, so I have created a Mule application where I have covered almost all the operations and scopes and routers that we have in the validation module. So in this video, we'll be discussing about few operations. So I'm going to break down this whole validation module into two videos. In the first video, I'm going to discuss about few operations that we have as you can see here. And in the second video, I'll be discussing about all and any scopes and routers. So first of all, why we need a validation module? So you can see here, right? The validation module verifies that the content of a message in a mule flow matches specific criteria. So basically, I think that generally we work on synchronous APIs, right? I mean, you'll be sending data from one application to another mule application using HTTP request. And also you'll get the data through HTTP listener, right? So in most of the applications, we use API specification to validate the input request or the payload, right? Will write the data. We'll have a data type in the API specification. But what if you have to use queues to exchange the data between mule applications, right? Then you cannot have RAML. So in those scenarios, we can use validation module to perform different validation checks on the payload. Yes, we can use JSON module as well. We can define a schema, and that way we can parse the payload and see if it is not if it is as per defined schema or not. But along with it, we can also use validation module to do different checks or validations on the message or the payload that we are receiving from another mule application. Okay. Or yeah, as mentioned in this, I mean, you can go through this description as given in the mule documentation. So it all depends upon the use case. We can use a validation module. Okay, so let's go through few operations. So what I have done is that I have created a lot of flows. So I can explain you few of the operations. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to upload this particular mule application, right? In the GitHub it is already uploaded, and also you can see the postman collection. You see here, I have created a postman collection with almost all the operations. Okay, so you can also get the postman collection here itself. This I made public, so you can get this application from this public repository. Okay, so now let us see a few operations within validation module. So whatever you could see as demo, right? So that is what I'm going to discuss in this video. So let's go ahead with the demo. So before that, right, if you have a question like how can I get this validation module into the mule application, so check in the add modules. If you have here, you are good. You can simply drag and drop here. If not, you can get it from the exchange. So you have to click on search in exchange, and it will it will give you this window, and you can search here, and you can add to the mule project. Okay, so yes, let's jump into the demo. Now we have a lot of operations, right? As you could see here, we'll see few operations among them. So this particular mule application is already up and running. Okay, so you could see this mule application is already up and running, right? So first of all, let me explain about the is URL flow. So I have configured HTTP listener, and one second, it is loading. So the path is URL, and you could see the base path, right? I have configured it as validation, and it is running on port 8081, and yeah. So we don't require to create validation configuration. Basically, you can skip this. Now, yeah, this is how is URL operation is going to look like. So what I have done in the, here we have URL, right? So what I'm doing, I'm passing a payload and I'm performing or checking if the URL within the payload is the right URL or not. Okay, so payload.url is what I have configured here by enabling the expression mode. And now if it is a valid URL, right, if this is a valid URL, what I'm selecting here, so this will respond, will get a response with 200. Okay, if not, this will throw an error, actually, like an error message. If you see here, I have configured it as the value is not a proper URL. So here basically I have customized the error response. Now if you see here, I did not customize. Okay, here also I have customized, but you don't really require to customize basically. Okay, if you don't configure this error message, right, mule is going to send the default error message for that particular based upon the operation. Okay, let's try to send a request. So I have configured a payload with, we have one key value pair with URL. Now this particular operation is going to check on the payload.url, and it will check whether if it is a valid URL or not. So let me send this request. So send the request, and you see, as I told you, we got 200. Okay, now why this payload has come? Because I have configured this set payload where I'm concatenating this key value pair to this particular input JSON object. So that's why you could see it like this. Okay, so yeah, it is a valid URL. As per the set payload, we got this particular response. If there is no set payload, right, so whatever the payload that we have sent, that will come as a response. Now let's try to test this particular payload or the request in a negative manner. Okay, so let me try to remove this HTTPS and see what happens. So let me send the request. Now you see, whatever I have configured in the error message, right, the value is not a proper URL. So that is what I got as a response when I have removed HTTPS or HTTP. So if I type it as HTTP /, this is also a valid URL, right? Or if I keep HTTPS, this is also a valid URL. But whenever you have removed HTTPS or HTTP and these double slashes, it is treating it as it is not a valid URL. Okay, this is how this particular operation is going to validate the input that you are passing. It will check if it is a valid URL or not. Okay, so we are good with this. Let me close this. Now let's go to the is IP. So sorry, yeah, let's discuss about this flow. We have HTTP listener and we have this operation is IP. Now I'm passing the IP value, IP key, okay, from payload that I'm passing here. Here also I have customized the error message. The value is not a proper IP. So let me clear the console. Now let me send this request. So if you wonder, right, what is this, right? Okay, this is IPv6. Basically, this IP, this is IP, right? It is going to validate both IPv4 and IPv6 addresses. Okay, so this is, so if you see, right, that's why I'm showing here like IPv6 example. This is the value that I have used in this request. Okay, now let me send this request and you'll understand that this is a valid IP. You see, as I told you, because we did not configure any other set payload here, so whatever the payload that is coming to this is IP operation, that is what is being sent back as a valid response, because based upon the responses configuration, right, if it is a successful response, the payload will be sent back. Now because we are not configuring any other payload, whatever the payload we have sent to that HTTP, to this HTTP listener, and that is the payload that we have received back when it is a successful response. Now let's say I'll also pass something like IPv4 address like 10.1.1.1. So this is IPv4. Now if I send this request, this is also a valid IP. Okay, this is IP is going to validate both IPv4 and IPv6 addresses. Now if you have a question like, can I send port something? Okay, so this is not going to allow you. This is not going to allow the port along with the IP. Now you see, as soon as I added the port, you see the value is not a proper IP. So as I have customized here. So I hope this is clear for you. Let me go with the next operation, that is empty collection. Okay. So here, let me jump to empty collection. Yes. So as you could see, I did not configure any custom message here. Okay. Now let's try to send a request. You see, I am passing payload.collection here in the expression mode. That means we have to, I mean, it will check if payload.collection is there, and it will pass this value here. Okay. Now basically this is not an empty collection. Okay. So now this is the empty collection because it's an array and it has no entries. Now if I send this request, it will give 200. Okay, because it is, this particular operation is checking for if the collection is empty or not. If the collection is not empty, it is going to throw an error message. Okay, now let me pass some values within this, like 1, 2, for example, or 3. So this is a collection, right? Now if I send this request, we'll get some default error message. See, collection is not empty. So this is something that is not customized, and this was sent by inbuilt error or the default error message. Okay, if you want, you can customize by filling this option. Okay, so I hope you are good. Let's go to the next operation, that is number. So if we see the same in the mule flow, right? So is number, what it does, it is checking whether the input, okay, is the number or not. You see here there is lot of there are a lot of options here. If you click on this drop down, right, we have something like float, double, long, short, all these things. So now for the time being I have gone with integer. Now what I'm doing, I'm checking if the payload dot age is integer or not. So integer in the sense it should not have any decimal part. Okay, this is the integer. And what extra checks I have provided here is that minimum value I have configured it as 18 and maximum value I have configured it as 102. Now let's say if I'm going to send this request, right? So minimum value, as because I have configured it as 18, we got a successful response, 200. Okay. Now for example, say I'm going to send it like 15 or anything less than 18, right? It is going to throw this default error message, like based upon the error, it is going to generate the error message. You see, it is like 15 is lower than 18, something like that. Okay. Now let's say I'm going to pass something like 103, where I have defined within this operation like max value as 102. So this is also is going to result into an error. See, 500 server error. Okay. Now let us say I'm going to pass something like 92, 99. So this will result into success. Now let's say I'm going to send some decimal value, something like this. So this is going to throw an error because this is not an integer. Okay. So this is how you can validate your what do you say, the value of a key by using this particular is number, whether based upon your use case. Okay. You can choose different options here, and you can also mention the pattern for the number that you are going to receive. Let's go ahead with another operation, that is time. So I'm going to send a payload with where we have a key named as time and the value is like this. So this is a valid time, right? Now I'm going to show you the operation, that is time, and you see here payload.time is what I have passed here, and pattern, you see I have passed it as hours, minutes and seconds. Okay, so if I send this request, right, this should work. Okay, because it is like hours, minutes and seconds only. But what if I'm going to send something like milliseconds, like 6, 7, 8, for example? This is going to throw an error because this particular value is not matching with the pattern that we have passed here or configured here. Okay, so let me remove this, and uh, this is the error that we got. Okay, based upon the incorrect value. Now, for example, say you see here, this is like 24-hour format. Now, for example, say I'm going to pass something like yeah, this will work for 23 something like this. Okay, now for example, say I'm going to pass it as something like 12-hour format. Okay, now this is not going to allow 24-hour format. Okay, like we can maximum pass 12 only here. If you pass something like 13, okay, that is like 1 p.m., it is not going to accept. So that we'll see that it is getting deployed. Let's wait. It got deployed. Okay, now if I send this request, right, this is going to throw an error because this hour format is a 12-hour format. So you cannot send anything more than 12. If you send 12 or 11 or whatever, this is going to succeed. Okay, yeah. And for example, say if you are passing some date value, it is not going to accept. Okay, something year, month, okay, like, and date, for example, 29. Let's see. Now, if I send this request, this is going to fail because it is going to validate with the pattern that you have configured. And one more thing, this is only going to allow time, not the date. Okay, yeah. Let me go ahead with the other operation, that is validate size. Yes. So validate size is some operation. You see here also you'll find a lot of I mean you can find a lot of configuration like minimum and maximum. So I'm validating payload.name. You see here I have configured the name value simply like m. So if I send this request, this is going to throw an error, a validation error. Value m, this is the message that we are going to get, but if you see the error, right, you see validation colon invalid size. This is the error type, and the message is this one: validation value m was expected to have a size of at least 2, but it only has 1. Okay, because based upon our configuration, I have configured minimum size as 2 and maximum size as 40. Now if I simply type it as mule, so it is going to work because the minimum length is 2 and maximum size is 40. Okay, so if you copy paste these things, right, for say now this is like more than 40. If I send this request, right, you see we have defined the maximum size as 40 only, and we have passed a string of length 60. So that's the reason it has raised a validation error. Okay, validation invalid size. Okay, so we are good with this. Now let me go with the last and final one, that is we have discussed about IP is IP. Now this is a proper IP, but suppose in your real time, right, you have to only allow few IPs, and you have to check uh, if the request has come from a proper IP or not. Okay, so in that case you can check, you can pass this kind of expression, or wherever you are getting the IP, right, let's say you are getting the IP from attributes or from payload or from headers, whatever. So you can pass the corresponding expression here, and you must be having a list of allowed IPs, right? So that is how I had 3 different IPs here. Now if you see, if I'm going to pass this IP because it is allowed IP, right? So the validation is successful and it responded with 200. Okay, now for example, say I'm going to pass something like 10.0.0.3, which is not there in the list of IPs. So this will result into a validation error. See, 10.0.0.3 was rejected by IP filter. Okay, if you pass any other IP, right, so that will be rejected. But if you pass IP that is allowed or that is there in that list, right, which I have shown you, it is going to allow those IPs only. So this way you can validate based upon the request. Based upon um, I mean, where your request is coming from. You can check. You can allow only a few IPs to send the request to you, and if it is an invalid IP, you can reset based upon this particular operation. I think, yeah. So we are done with the first part of validation module. If you want, this, right, if you want the postman collection and this project which I'm showing you for your testing purpose, I'm going to provide the description in the uh, I'm going to provide the a link of this GitHub in the description of this video. You can what is it, check out this project. Okay, and even the postman collection is available for you, and you have to import that into your postman by using this option import, and you simply have to upload that particular JSON file here, and it will frame you all these postman collection. You can also test the other operations as well. In the next session, we'll discuss about these two. We'll discuss about this matches regex and also these two, all and any. So yeah, I haven't covered these two operations, unfortunately, but you can test all these other operations, and also if you want, you can practice by taking this mule application as a reference. Okay, I'll see you guys in the next video of validation module. Thank you so much for listening to my video. Thank you.